All right, what is up, everybody? ShoutsCout0013 here, coming in with a video on the objectives. Now, there is a part in the middle that will be a little lengthy, just kind of a little, topic about what we think about the objectives, but the last 10 minutes is pretty great to just kind of wrap up the main thoughts about objective play and what you kind of need to be aware about. But going over the objectives today is, I feel like, going to be important, and I will start doing the like lists very very soon in the coming weeks. I just wanted to make sure that everyone had a good breakdown of the objectives and kind of like what they do and what you should do during the objectives, because objectives is how you kind of win the game. You kind of need victory points. I mean, yes, you can table your opponent, and so if you can just make a really good list that does that. But with line of sight blocking, with a whole bunch of cover and a whole bunch of other things, you aren't going to be so sure of that. So the best thing to do is prepare for the objectives. So I wanted to go over the advantages and objective cards for you guys. So I just wanted to go over a quick few housekeeping things. If you want to just kind of skip below to the video, you can just look in the description down below and find that. But if you want to win $25 towards your faction to get in commander or operative or anything like that, there are multiple ways to win. And the first way to win is to become a YouTube subscriber and leave a comment down below, and that'll kind of get you in to win. The other way to win is to head on over to the Discord and become a member. We welcome everybody. It is nice to see so many people here getting involved and asking for help. We do have Legion faction lists, so if you want to talk CIS, we've got people who will talk to you about it. If you've got, so Honor Taco is a new guy here, and, asking about skirmish stuff. So feel free to post a whole bunch of things that you've got questions on. I know that Pally also really helps with the GAR as well as Kyler, and anything that's Rebels or Shadow Collective. I know Aki Tom is in there talking. So we have a lot of people who do help, and it's awesome to see you guys in there. And what I do is I go to the server level and I write down, starting the day of the giveaway, I write the people who win. So, or not win, but people who get involved. So yeah, that is one way to enter in to win. Another way is to be go on over to Clan of Shadows Patreon, become a member. You don't necessarily have to be a paying member to gain extra entries, or to gain entries, I should say, but you do gain extra entries if you are a paying member. What it does is it just really helps to give out more giveaways and better stuff. So if you do decide to help out the channel, even just $1 a month is even awesome. Kind of just helps a lot. $5 a month is pretty great, and you'll have your name shouted out at the end. But those are the multiple ways to wind up getting entered in to win the giveaways. But all right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. It is a good lengthy one, so let us know in the comments down below what you think, and I hope you enjoy. All right, what is up, everybody? ShoutsCout0013 here, coming in with another video with Canadian Bear.
Hello.
And Kyler the Wookiee Extraordinaire.
Yo.
And today we're going to talk about objectives, the secondary objectives, and the what are they called? The
Advantage.
advantage cards. And you cannot build a list without understanding this, because then you're just building a random list and not playing the objective. But nowadays everything is basically getting blown off the board. So understand it or not, it's okay. But we'll talk about them today and hopefully give you a better understanding of each objective and advantage. Now, I guess we can go ahead and jump into it. Did you guys want to talk about the secondaries first or the regular first objectives?
I would like to go advantages, then primary, and then secondary. I think that will be the I'm picking that order, and the thing that I'll like to add is that it's because I think that is the most important, or sorry, that is least to most important when it comes to your picks and bans. So least important things are going to be your advantages, and most important, I think, is going to be your secondary, because primary kind of scores itself and is sort of the, it's just different flavors. But secondaries is a way for you to absolutely blow out your opponent if you get the right secondary.
Okay, well then, yeah, let's go ahead and go over the advantages. So the first one is advanced intel. This is the at the start of the first activation phase, add one pass token to your pass pool. Now,
Yep,
I know you were saying that this is probably the best one.
it's the best one. Yeah. It's the best one. So deployment in the new game mode, and anybody who's gotten to actually play it will now know that out deploying your opponent is insane. Okay, and putting the first thing on the board is bad, and it sucks because you kind of have to posture, right? Either you have to deploy very safe, or you have to put yourself out there and just hope that they're okay. Um, Keywords like scout and prepare positions and infiltrate are all good. I will say with a huge asterisk that prepared positions is only good if you have the terrain advantage, because obviously you don't want to prepared positions a guy, get a dodge token, woohoo, and then just proceed to get blasted every round, right? Because you've put your guy out there first. So that one's got an asterisk. Infiltrate and scout, on the other hand, you don't have to commit. You can kind of see where the board's going, so they're very much better. Um, because again, the dodge token probably isn't going to save your guy. Uh, Cover sure won't. So the ability to have a pass token or to negate your opponent's pass token, assuming that you out activate them, is awesome and so good, right? So there are two use cases for this card. Number one is I'm supposed to go and deploy first, and I don't want to, so I use this card. Sick. Now my opponent has to place their guy first. They set the tone. I now know where they're going. That's information gained. So that's nice. Second to that is that if you're deploying second and you have this card, and if you're on act parity, you can see where they go twice. Now that's really huge to know. And if you're underactivated and you already have actual pass tokens, you can kind of use this to go like, they place a guy, you pass. They place a guy, you place your first unit, very non-committal. They place a third unit, you pass. They place a fourth guy. What? Because if you have two pass tokens now, right? Because this one would be added to the pass pool, right? So if I already have one, this can be added in. Now you can't pass back to back, but I mean that's so non-committal, right? To just put one unit out there and get to see where they put four units, assuming that they're going first, right? So they go, I pass. They go, I go. They go, I pass. They go again,
And they could have
right?
had a
Like it's
prepared positions unit out there already too.
Yes, that's another, yeah, a great point. So if they had prepared positions, those units are already deployed. They're not already activated, but they're already deployed. So you can learn so much about where the board's going and control the area and the space that you want to control, or like early like deny your opponent, some things, because being first out there is really just a liability. And what will happen is that if you are not putting a bunch of stuff but committing it out there and your opponent starts putting pieces onto the board, if they don't want to put them out there and get shot like crazy, most likely what they're going to do is they're just going to move out there and like dodge or something. And yeah, you could say, well, it's giving my opponent a bunch of chances, with clones to like put their guys in dodge and all that. It's like, guys, that's okay. That's totally fine, right? Because those dodges are really all they're gonna get, because they're not getting cover. Like, and even if they have heavy cover, it ain't gonna do what it used to. So they're still gonna lose more models than you in the beginning, right? And those models have already activated. So you just basically drill your guys into their activations. You'll chip through those dodges pretty early. You'll suppress some stuff. Um, you'll start wearing them thin, right, early on. It could be a snowball thing. So this card's insane. And I know that we're only on the first one. I'm not going to talk about each one to this extent. I just want people to understand that, like, this is the only advantage that I think I would ever actually ban. And that's but even then you got to just know why you'd be banning. Don't just see it and just go, "Oh, get it out of there." Like, because I think banning secondaries is going to be more important. But this is the only one where I would actually consider it, right? Like if I'm deploying first and my opponent has this, I got to think of that, right? Because I do not want to double deploy. because they got this card. So anyway, that's my take.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. I covered it all. Yeah. Nice.
Then next up is fortified positions. So during setup, you can place up to 3 barricades with friendly or contested territory and beyond range 1 of each other. So at least this one prevents, both of you getting barricades and only gives it to you. And beyond, let's see, you can within friendly or contested territory and beyond range 1 of each. So it's like almost anywhere on the board, as long as they're beyond range 1 of each other.
Yeah, this
Also,
is.
definitely
Go
the
ahead.
reason why they are no longer difficult.
They're no longer difficult because movement is so important in this new mode with getting to where you need to get to. And so the reason why they're placed beyond range 1 of each other is so that you can basically daisy chain it to where you want to go. So if there's like if you and we haven't talked about the primaries, but if you're playing close the pocket, this gives you a path to just like I'm going to deploy and move, and then I have cover, and then I have another barricade range 1 from that, and then I can move, and you have barricades the whole way up. So it's but but I just want to like remind people that heavy cover from barricades is not what it used to be. Just full stop.
Well, just
It's
heavy
not what
cover
it
in
used to be.
general. Yeah.
And you don't have to touch them when I'm shooting over them, right? If I'm shooting at you, I used to have to like touch the barricade so that you don't get the cover from me. No, not anymore, because you're not 3 inches from this barricade, so you don't get cover from it. So I don't even need to touch it. I can place it in like little weird angles and stuff like that as long as I'm 3 inches from it. So, but again, heavy cover sucks anyways. I mean, like 99% of the time, people are gonna shoot you a sharpshooter, make it light cover, and then you basically get zero cover because you're basically getting a B1 save, you know. So it's something. It's a card. It's there. I would never ban it, but I definitely would put it in my deck because as we're going to talk about all of them, I think this was advanced intel and fortified positions are probably two of the like, yeah, it fits in almost every army, and there's going to be times where it does what you want it to do, where the rest of them are kind of nah. And there is one more other one that I would almost say is like an auto pick, but we'll get to it.
I think the other reason why they changed them from difficult to open, though, is just because it's no longer two-sided, it's now one-sided. So, at least before you had the chance where maybe your opponent also screws up and puts them in a bad spot.
Yep.
But now it's only you, so yeah, no, that would feel really bad if your advantage was a hindrance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that is actually one of the best changes that they've done in the new. I know this sounds so stupid because it's like like well, barricade change is the best change they've done. Like obviously there's but what I mean is that like that is an example where they saw a rule and they said, it doesn't really vibe with like real life even, right? Like a barricade is not something that is particularly difficult. And like in war, like, you'd be charging and you just kind of little hop over the barricade, right? Like they're not walls. You're not climbing up and over. They're not actually difficult. But they are something that you duck behind and get heavy cover from. So it's kind of cool. So I like that they just said, rationally thinking, like they were like, does that need to be heavy? And I'm happy that they kind of rethought it, and that's a thumbs up on that one.
Nice. Well, yeah, we can go to cunning deployment. I like this one a lot. And at the start
This is
of the
the other one. The three
yeah,
auto includes. Yeah.
because it's such a good one. Because it basically at the start of the first activation phase, you can choose for 3 friendly units, and each chosen unit gains a dodge token. So this is perfect for, Jedi.
You're
This is
not getting
perfect.
cover, so you need dodges. That's the long and the short of it.
And
The first 3 units you want to deploy, you basically like it's kind of a telegraph, but like the way I play this card is I go, these are the first 3 units that I'm deploying. I play clones as well, so they're going to share. So that's another like, like 3D chess kind of thing. But like, even if you're not playing clones, playing rebels, cool. You're going to get a bunch of dodges. And you got a nimble, and it's good, right? So you're going to put 3 dodges out there, and it's just like, this is my first 3 deployments, and they're going to be relatively safe, right? Um, that's but like there's no negative to this card. And I think when we talk about some of the other ones, that's why you'll understand why I think the other three are just they're niche and maybe even arguably bad because they're conditional and situational.
And now,
These other three are not.
because at the start of the first activation phase, does this happen before prepared positions so that if you did give it to a prepared positions person, they could get 2 dodges?
No, because
It's
prepared positions happens before the first activation phase.
they would
Gotcha.
get both, but is the answer though. So yes to them being able to get 2 dodges. So you'll prepared position the unit. Um, they get the dodge from that trigger, and then you start your activation phase, which hands out 3, 1, 2, 3, boop, boop, boop. So yeah, I mean, you can choose the prepared position people, you can choose your people who are undeployed or whatever. Um, and this is like one of those again. So advanced intel can blow. We talked a lot about that already, but like that one can blow someone out. With deployment, super super strong. Fortified, no negative whatsoever. It's just all good all the time. Never going to be bad card for you. Cunning deployment, same thing. All good all the time. Never going to be bad for you. So those are the 3 autos for me. And then the other 3, I don't even think even in the niche cases where they are quote unquote good, I'm still not bringing them, and I'll die on that hill. And we'll talk about it when we would look at them.
See, there's one of them that I really like, and we'll get to it, but and I'll explain
Yeah,
why. But
yeah.
we'll go over it.
And we'll
The
fight about it.
Yeah, which makes for a good conversation. So the next one is garrison. So set up. During the setup, choose up to one of your core units without prepared positions, and then the chosen unit is going to gain prepared positions this game, where it can deploy during the setup and gain a dodge token. So I don't necessarily care for this card because I'm playing 501st at the moment, and all of them have scout. Rex is going to have scouting party for all of them.
Every unit in every army should have scout, and if you
Yeah.
don't have scout, you should already have one of these other keywords.
Yes. Definitely.
So it's basically reads, give a core already off to a bad start, right? The fact that it can't be used on your commander, can't be used on it's like that's frustrating. Give a core prepared positions. Like no. And also we talked about you're kind of showing your hand a little bit. I don't want my guy on the board. Like that's he's just going to like get shot. And if you say, "Well, just put him somewhere safe." It's like, "Okay, well then I put him somewhere safe." That doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right place for him to deploy to do what he needs to do. Now I've put him in a safe place, but isn't necessarily the place that I need to, zone control. There are going to be boards and maps where like it's good, like and it just works out that it's like, okay, the token's here and I can also be scoring and I'm protected behind LS and all the great things. But do I want to walk up to a table and like fingers crossed that this card is actually useful? No.
I could see this card being okay in the future, but especially right now, where we're figuring out how to redesign tables, especially
Yeah,
right
that's
now,
another that's
I would avoid this one.
yeah, I think that's a great point. So I'm I am still I have and I've posted pictures in the Discord for people who are in the Discord they've seen. I have 2 very nice tables. I spent a lot of time and made them very competitive for the old game. I have found that neither of them are particularly competitive for the new game mode without doing a lot of heavy lifting and remeasuring. Um, and I will say, finding an asymmetrical. 'Cause one of the beauties of the old game mode was that asymmetry was almost impossible to punish, right? Like you could make a board very asymmetrical, but very difficult for someone to say, "Oh, this side is just so much better than the other side." This new game mode, I haven't, again, limited number of games. I think there's people out there with a lot more games than me already. But even with my limited number of games, I'll say that the asymmetry just seems to be the thing of the past. I don't want asymmetry on my boards anymore with the new tokens, because and we've seen the picture that you shared, Graham, with the impossible to find a layout, like you can't lay out a board safely without ruining it for some potential deployment. So it's but anyway, yeah, to touch back on this card in particular, prepare positions is terrain dependent, and I don't see, at least yet, I haven't seen the answer for how terrain should look, and that would make this card good. If someone solves the math equation of like how terrain should be kind of like structured to make this card more reliably good, I think I might change my tune, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
In a world where it does become more reliably good, there are two little things to watch out for. Both of the latest battle forces, so the experimental droids and the Wookiees, both of their special forces that can count as core can be used for this because they both say in their special rules counts for battle cards as well. So uh, your experimental Magnas and the melee Wookiees can get this in those two options.
Right. But all my melee Wookiees have recon intel, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Would, because if you're, all right, so say that you're giving Rebel veterans targeting scopes. Well, they already have prepared positions. Maybe if you gave fleet troopers the targeting scopes for the gear slot, then I feel like the prepared positions could be okay at least.
Yep, and then two-thirds of the games you're not going to get this card, and you've put in your list building a card that needed it.
True.
That's the other thing that I don't want to be overly negative, but the randomness of these, like, you don't even know what your own cards are going, it's, and God, I would hate to use one of my bans on my own advantage to try to, and then still, right, like you use it and you you don't get it, like you didn't get it on the flop, and then you ban, and then you 50-50, so you're like that, oh man, may as well just say, you know what? Can we mulligan? Can we redo? Because
Yeah.
I wasted a ban and I didn't get the one card that I really wanted. Yeah. So anyway, I'll say that don't build your list with these in mind. These are extra.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just think they're neutral. I feel like it's just something to, to add in if you have to, but
All right, and then we can talk about the worst one now.
strafing run? No, ordnance.
Ordnance.
I actually like Ordnance, especially for those who don't have either a lot of impact and maybe playing Bring Them to Heal. But let me go ahead and read it first. So, special rules. Once per game, at the end of the command phase, you may place a friendly Ordnance token on the battlefield. And then at the beginning of the end phase of whatever round, after you've placed it, if a friendly Ordnance is on the battlefield, you can roll 3 black attack dice. Each unit at range 1 of that token that has armor or armor X, which I don't know why they haven't cleaned that up because it's a PDF and we don't have just regular armor anymore. But okay, yes. But beyond that, if
Yet.
yeah,
AT-AT is confirmed.
yeah,
AT-AT
right.
confirmed.
But yeah, so yeah, each unit at range 1 of that token that has armor X keyword or has the vehicle unit type suffers 2 wounds for each crit result and 1 wound for each hit result rolled. And then each other unit at range 1 of that token gains 1 suppression token for each crit or hit result rolled. And then you can remove that token from the game. So like if you are running a battle force that doesn't have a lot of armor, it could be useful. And if you are playing Bring Them to Heal, but you don't have a lot of suppression units or suppressive units, it could be okay. And I'll bring it when I'm not bringing a bunch of impact, just because at least it's a possibility, and it gets your opponent to try to ban that advantage card instead of one of the objectives or secondary objectives. So it's kind of like to me, not a bait, but something to kind of get them to ban other than something that I like on the objective or secondary. But that's me, so
All
I
right.
don't mind it.
Are you ready?
Or
Well,
one quick thing before you go into your thing. After we go over this one and the last one, I do think there are a niche case for each one where you actually want these.
All right. All right. Now let me crush everyone's hopes and dreams. All right. Once per game at the end of the command phase. So we've just issued our commands. Okay. Cool. It doesn't happen until the end of the turn. So there's no like kaboom, gotcha. Like
right.
it's like okay, this thing right here. So most of the things you know where you're gonna have a vehicle or whatever, like vehicles are gonna be very good about getting to your opponent's stuff, like your opponent or sorry, my vehicles are good for getting on my opponent's objectives. That's kind of where I want them to go because they're armor and they're tough and tanky and they kind of move across and they LOS block and all that kind of stuff. At best, you're defending your own and saying, well, if you're going to do it, you're going to take on average 1.5 wounds. I know if you roll a crit, it's two, whatever, shut up, right? So, like, it's 1.5 on average, just napkin math, okay? Let's be real, right? It's 3 black, and, you know, you have, 50-50, right? Like, on each of them. So it's like 1.5. So it's probably actual, like, if somebody does the math, it's probably closer to, like 1.75 damage on average. All right, that's cool, and like that's not nothing, but it's only to the armor stuff, and it's only if they go to the place that you kind of like fully show like this is the thing that I want to protect or whatever. If you put it on theirs, they're just going to send their vehicles to aggress you, and that's what they want to do anyway. And if you put it on your own, they're just going to shoot you a bunch and just LOS block. And yeah, it stops them from maybe moving on top of it for one single turn, but they're just going to stay out of it. I think in most cases. And the other thing is that you rolled 7 blank black dice last night, like and it happened twice in a game. 7
Yeah.
blanks on 7 dice. Okay, this card rolls 3 black dice. There are going to be games where yes, you see a crit and 2 hits, and you're just like, I'm king of the world, Elmo meme, everything, the world's on fire, right? Because you exploded everything, love it. But I'm not putting this in my list because there's just going to be a lot of games where it's doing 1 damage when I'm lucky, or like 0 in a lot of cases. And again, the argument might be like, well, it makes them play different. I'm gonna ignore it. If I see this on my opponent's, I'm doing what I'm doing with my vehicle, and I'll either stay out of it if I don't need to send my guy into it, or I'm just gonna ignore it completely and maybe get some wounds, and I'll take that anytime. So those are my reasons. You telegraph. There's no like surprise or whatever, completely random, and the things that it's good into, it may not even be good. Like I haven't built a list with armor yet. I am infantry all over the place. So this card would literally be dead. And you'd be tempted to ban your own card so that you can have an advantage. So there might be games where you have this one flopped out and then you just go, it literally doesn't do anything. My opponent has playing 0 armor. So for those reasons, I don't include it, but I agree with at least at the highest level of if armor starts to get out of control and we start to see like armor skew lists with lots of armor, I could probably see like, okay, maybe there's like, oh, in my area, everyone runs double AATs and they're marching up a bunch of, okay, you bring this and that's a decent enough answer, right? Because it's at least they don't get a save, right? I mean, I guess if we're gonna silver lining this card, it's straight to the wound. But anyway, okay. Now I'm prepared to be told I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. I just think that at least there's a place that it could work and that it's better than nothing, and that if you at
You're
least
right. It is better than nothing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is a fact. But my point was that sometimes this is nothing.
Right. And I feel
So
like
sometimes.
if at least terrain is there's a lot of buildings and the vehicles only have a certain path, and
Mhm.
you don't have to detonate it that one turn. You can wait till the end phase of another round because it's just once per game, and for any end phase, then at least they have to be aware of it. And it could, I mean, it could be a fake.
This you don't choose. It is at the beginning of the end phase. It blows up.
Okay, so once per game at the end of the command phase that you do place it. The
Yep.
end of that. Okay. Well, all right. Well, screw that for me. But
Hey, we're back. Yeah.
okay. Well, at least it could be useful maybe sometime at some point.
Again, I think that as if vehicles start to take over, this card becomes better. But right now, I haven't seen very many lists bring more than one vehicle, and I'm not bringing this card for the chance of one vehicle, maybe sometimes. So that's where I'm at with it.
My local has a triple ATSD player, so just for him.
Yeah. Oh, you're playing Tempest. Let me just go over to my little command cards real quick. All right, I'm ready.
And I'm realizing now, it kind of applies to the next one, but honestly, it's still better with this one. And I think this card, it works great also for Krennic. Because if you do your suppression bomb, then you drop this. This still happens before scoring. And if you've already at least suppressed them down, you have a greater chance of then doubling down on panicking them. Which can also be great for something we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about Strafing Run now, I guess.
Yeah. So strafing run, a little bit more suppression handed out. So once per game at the end of the command phase again, you may place a friendly air support token on the battlefield. And then at the beginning of that end phase, if well, at the beginning of the end phase. Yeah, I guess it's still alluding to
So
that.
you plop it down, and then that turn you're gonna do a line attack, which
Yeah,
is weird, right? That you pick a point, and then you take the measuring tool and you do range 2 to that point, and then anybody who's crossing that line is affected by this.
So if a friendly air support token's on the battlefield, measure from it to any position at range 2,
Mm-hmm.
and note the miniatures overlapping by the range tool. You're going to roll 4 black attack dice. Each unit that contains one or more miniatures that were overlapped by the tool or overlap the token gains 1 suppression token for each hit or crit result rolled. But so is that like?
So I hope you purchase the fat line tools, because if you have the skinny range tools, then this card is also worse because you have the skinny tools. You want the fat range rulers if you're going to play this card.
So it's not a full like range 2
No,
around.
it is take two range 1 sticks, put them together, hover it over your guy, and then if my stick is over top of anybody, those guys on that line vertical, those guys get suppression.
Okay.
It is a line attack.
Okay, because I wasn't sure.
There's 2 different tools then.
Yeah, and I wasn't.
And props to the guy who gets the TO to approve the 1-inch thick range ruler that he has, so that he can. He's like, "Hey TO, can I bring this? No reason."
Yeah, because I was thinking that because let's see, measure to it from any position at range 2 of it, and note the miniatures overlapped. And yeah, because to me, I didn't know if that was considered, any position, but I guess it's just a straight line.
Yep, you make one single measure to any position within range 2. So you have your token, you pick a point A, that's your point A, you pick a point B, take the tool, make a line, and then any miniatures underneath of it, their units count for this effect.
And
So it's gonna hit 2 units most of the time, like pretty frequently. Is it gonna hit more than that? Less likely, especially given that your opponent can, again, the whole turn spend the whole turn like thinking about where they're going to move, and the ranges. And when we talk about the objectives, the ranges between each position, the number of them where they are range 2 from each other are pretty few. So close the pocket, you'll never be able to stretch this across 2 points. Bunker assault, you can only do it vertical against one lane. Breakthrough, they can't go across 2 points. Intercept signals, they cannot go across 2 points. Recover their research, they cannot go across 2 points. And shifting priorities, you can only go across 2 points if they're the far points, or if you've moved them closer, because it's shifting priorities, right? So they could later in the game get nearer. So there's only 3 where you guaranteed to have range 2 to make it across 2 different points. And like I said, since you've telegraphed a token, your opponent can just go like, okay, well, I will make it so that you can't draw a line through 2 of my units, because all they have to do is, here's your token. If you have a unit over here within range 2, any units in between that, you just don't put them in that line, like, because you have to draw the line from your starting spot. So again, it's the telegraph thing. Also, again, I'm not a big fan of the fact that it's fires off on the turn that you play it. So there's no like sneaky. For me, this should be, I don't tell you anything, and I play it like a trap card at the end of a round. I should be able to, the whole game, I could just go like, haha, I'm in a strafing run now. And then you just pick 2 points within range 2, and then I have the whole board. And the whole game, the entire game, my opponent is playing this mind game where like I gotta be careful to, it's like if I pack up my guys too much, this could be the turn where they're just gonna go bam, 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 lay suppression. Same thing with Ordnance. Ordnance should literally just be, you've activated my trap card. And it should just say, pick a objective on the board and do this effect. It shouldn't even be like anywhere on the board. It should just say, pick any of the objectives anywhere pick one of those and then do a range 1 bomb around it. That'd be sick. That'd be so sick. And I would actually start bringing both of these cards if it was just played in the moment, right? To like try to finish off a vehicle that you didn't quite finish. And this should happen before scoring. So like if you have a vehicle and he's the only guy holding down a point and he's like sitting there on 1 or 2 wounds, that's scary, right? Because my opponent could just ordnance that spot and just be like, bang, aha, detonate it. Like look at the card. The guy's holding a detonator. Like, man, like your art tells you how the card should play. And then again, there are lists where this card's dead. So it being good is okay, because there's times when it's going to be dead. So anyway, that's what I would love it to be. If somebody from AMG is out there, hey, you don't have to give me any kind of commission, for fixing the card for you. It's doing everybody a service. Just go ahead and, it's a PDF. Just change it. It's just text. Just change it.
Yeah, I think the trap card part would be, or the trap portion would make it better, because it's not like there's a lot of Courage 3 commanders out, or like 2 Courage 4 units out there. There's at least commanders that it's going to be fine if the suppression happens, so it's not the end of the world. So I feel like making it a trap would make it better.
Yeah, and again, because they're so situational and they're only going to be relevant in so many weird little niche things, don't make the card harder for it to actually work, right? Like I'm bringing this in my battle deck. It's already like anyway. So that's my soapbox. I think for 99% of games, okay, I'm being hyperbolic. For 80% of games, we're going to see 2 of the 3 of my auto includes. And then maybe that 1 flex slot, which I think is fortified positions. You could make an argument to not run fortified positions and pick strafing. I would never pick garrison, but strafing or maybe ordnance. But again, vehicles aren't super popular yet, or at least not around my area. 1 bus, like I'm not worried about the bus that much to run ordnance. So
One thing I'm realizing while you guys were talking about that, I was checking the book. Um, Unless it's stated in the forum, because yay, diving through the forums, um, you can place advantage tokens on POIs.
mhm.
So the ordnance token is at least kind of interesting. you can kind of at least like slow down an opponent for a turn unless they want to actually go into it.
I'm walking onto it.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna. That's me. I don't play a lot of vehicles, but I'm gonna be. I'll be real. I don't think I'm ever gonna play differently around the ordnance card because again, it'll blank. It's 1.5 average damage, and that's not super scary.
It's also for the suppression too. I think could be valuable depending on later.
That one, yes. Again, on some of the deployments where you can get and you can make a line within range 2 of 2 objectives where there's going to be a lot of people clumped up together.
Or no, I'm
I
saying
think.
for ordnance, the suppression.
Oh, yeah. Wait,
That
suppression.
yeah, for trooper units, it hands out suppression still.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, like I said, we'll talk about it later why that could be valuable. But one thing also, I don't. Why I love the T-47. It's one of my favorite Star Wars ships. Why is that not a TIE fighter? This feels like that should be an Empire card.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
Or at least like a TIE bomber. I know we don't have like that
Yeah.
in there, but a TIE bomber could be pretty cool because I feel like
That's
that's.
Then
background.
if it was a TIE bomber, it would have to be damaged, right? I mean,
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe a.
because the T-47, let's be real, it only adds suppression, right? Like it's.
Yes.
Sorry, people who've liked T-47s. I'm just kidding. It's an okay ship. It's probably the worst vehicle in the game, but it's okay. Like I mean, you can
Shots
still
fired.
bring it. No, they're
Suppressive
not.
shots
That's
fired.
the problem. Suppressive shots fired. That's about it. All right, so now let's zip through the we can zip through the primaries because there's not much to talk about. You talk about one, you talk about them all.
Yeah. Did one of y'all actually want to cover the primaries starting with close the pocket?
Go for it.
Graham, I guess. Anybody? Well.
Oh yeah, I got it. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, you're good.
Close the pocket. So slightly disarray. Um, place 3 stockpiles or POIs.
It's intercept the transmissions 2.0. Let's be real.
Yeah. The center scores you 2, starting on the second round, and the sides score you 1. Yeah. But this is one of the ones where it requires a secure, so you have to have a majority. You can't just have one unit on it.
Yeah, that's the.
So bring more. We were talking about earlier, but there's 3 like modes for these cards, and I guess that's a relevant thing. So this is one of them, which is secure. So what's that keyword exactly again?
Secure is having more than your opponent when it comes to units in the range band around a POI.
Okay, and then the next one was contest.
Contest.
Which is just one guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So as far as ones that just require contesting and then we can, or securing, there's 3 of them that the only way to score points from them are securing. It's close the pocket, shifting priorities, and bunker assault. Breakthrough and intercept signals. I'm just going to keep calling that transmissions in my head. It's just going to trip me up all the time.
I know, because intercept signals is not intercept the transmissions. Close the pocket is intercept transmissions. So now we're just like, come on, guys. Easy. It was an easy win. They could have just called. Anyway, sorry.
But both of these are...
It's a PDF. It's a PDF, guys. just change them. Just change them.
But both of these breakthrough and intercept signals are have ways to score points that can be either securing or capturing or contesting. And then recover the research is the only one we currently have that you score simply by just contesting. You got one guy there, you're good.
Yeah. So there's 3 categories, and that's what we talked about earlier. And then obviously, for me, I would argue that even though there's 3 flavors, it's 3 different flavors of vanilla, right? It's just extra vanilla, little less vanilla, mild, like barely any vanilla, right? They're all vanilla though, because at the heart they are all securing a position. And I'm not trying to double dip on that word, but like it is, or I should say, it's area control or area denial. Same thing, right? You're trying to, um, secure or contest or whatever the keyword of your card is, but really at the end of the day that just means fight for king of the hill, fight for position and board presence, which previously to the old objectives we really, yeah, we had that, to a certain extent with key positions, touching with the leader, and right, like that's sort of the kind of the same thing. And intercept was really exactly this, right? With it was range 1, but you're doing very similar stuff. um, but all of these at their heart are nodes that are predefined on the board where they go, and you're fighting for position, and you're trying to either have a guy or more guys on those spots. So for me, that just feels like 3 different flavors of vanilla. Um, and personally, I want to see some innovation in this space, and but before long. I want to see innovation in this space, and I would need to see it very soon, because I will be the first person to say that I'm not too many games in, and I'm already kind of like, all right, this is gonna be every game now, you know.
So, so with at least close the pocket, like we obviously know that securing the middle is going to be the best, or at least one of the home ones of yours, whether it be the far left, far right one. So, what would you say the best strategy to gain dominance over that middle would be? Are you trying to? Because it's after this, starting in the second round during each in phase. So, are you want to be constantly moving? Do you want to try to work your way there first? I know that you had played this one with Yoda and Chewie, and you basically tried to secure the middle one as early on as possible and let the other guy come to you. And so that makes everything very mobile.
I I wish you had the pictures of my game, and you could even post or like share it. I don't know if you on a different screen can pull it up or whatever.
Was it in the mod chat?
Those um Let me see if I can just repost it while I'm collecting my thoughts.
Yeah, you can even post it in the
Or
interview channel open chat if you want. I'll pull them
I'll
up.
put them in. I'll put it in ideas.
Oh yeah,
Just because.
because I know
So
that
this
we
was
had talked about
my.
it. We talked about it pre-recording, but I know that we didn't get the chance to talk about it during the recording.
All
Because
right.
then
So
because I'll talk
there's
about
this
the other
is
one.
this is the yeah this is the board in the first picture. So this is like the board that we were playing on, and then you can see that is the state of the board after round 2. So like after, so literally, yeah, that's the center of the
That's
board
yeah.
in between those 2 rock structures. And we had talked about it before we were setting it up. So this was an experimental game where we knew what we were doing. We did 5 rounds of mulligans basically. We because we were trying to learn the the band system, and we didn't want to be beholden to it. So we did it like a couple times, and we did some iterations. And then we talked about setting up the board specifically for knowing what we were going to play, which is not normal. And I want people to know that we built this board knowing what was on it, because what we were worried about was that we were going to play on a board that it doesn't work, or it's super unfavorable for one person, and we're not going to learn the system, and we're not going to learn the new game mode, and that it's just going to be, it feels bad for somebody. Spoiler, it was still sort of feels bad for somebody, even doing all these little cautious things. So we had set up those 2 um, rock structures between the points to make it near impossible to have a guy on one point with a range 3 or range 4 or range 5 gun profile just blast the crap out of the person in the middle. We discussed that we thought that would be really bad, to be the person just getting absolutely destroyed, right off the bat, because you can't hide anywhere and you could just blast from a safe spot. So we felt it was very important, and we were both playing Jedi, Shadow Collective Maul versus Yoda and stuff. So we were like, we're gonna brawl and we're gonna get into melee. So should be fine. He had a transport, which allowed him to kind of get up in there very easily. But I clone balled the crap out of that area. And basically, I said, I'm scoring the first 3 points, and then you're going to score 1. Now, mind you, that's a big deal, right? And depending on the secondaries, we can talk about secondaries here soon, but like depending on the secondaries, sometimes the secondaries don't really matter a whole lot. And by me creating a 2-point advantage, and I knew that I could create a 2-point advantage on the first 2 turns. In other words, like I could do it on turn 2 and turn 3 pretty much, like guaranteed. It'll take him a while to put enough bodies onto the point, because he's got to kill me and I'm going to be killing him, and my guys are going to be aiming, shooting, or dodging and shooting, and so I'm going to be stuck in. And so I just needed to get there first. So I used W key, guidance, piggyback, with Chewbacca card. Like I made it very clear that I was going to take the middle. So and this was a game plan that we talked about kind of early on, so we kind of knew what was going to happen, but we wanted to play through it anyway. So I score 3, he scores 1. All right, and we were playing the card where like you gain extra VPs depending on which area you kill people in. So that was the other card, right? And then the next round, I score 3, he scores 1. So I have a 4-point lead. We've each killed 2 units each. So then I got 2 more victory points, and he got 1 more or 2 more victory points from the secondaries. So he had 4 victory points, and I had 8. Okay. So you can guess what happened. The very next turn, we talked about it, and he's like, "You just need to kill 1 more unit. You get the 1 victory point for that, and you'll score 3, and it's game over. And there's nothing I can do about it unless I take my entire army and dive it onto the point. And there's no way I'm gonna still have that many activations left because of all the amount of moves that he'd have to do to get there. So this particular one, and I don't want to harp and spend this much time talking about each one, but what I'm hoping becomes illustrated is that some of these objectives are going to be just like steamroll. The person who has the durable army who gets there first just wins. And if the secondary doesn't take a huge like swingy like way to get back into the game, some of these are just going to be that much. You had the benefit of playing one of my favorite of all of the new game modes, which is Recover Research, because it's the most fair. It doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't have any advantage for people with more activations. It doesn't have any advantage for people who are particularly fast, because there's like 3 that are right at the deployment zone, so you can be slow army. And it doesn't have a particular advantage for range, because all of the nodes are all range 3 from every other node pretty much. I know
For the
diagonals
most part. Yeah,
is like range 2.5, but whatever.
there's like
Um,
3 let's see, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3. So like 2
yeah,
of them are close, the other one's pretty far away. But I know
right.
like trying to separate a clone army or trying to separate a lot of your army and leaving some units that aren't the best or could. I feel like if you do have a small army, it's going to be tough because if your opponent has 14, you have 9.
If they kill activations, it becomes tough. But you had, in your game specifically, uh, I don't know, if it would have been different without me kind of like helping or slash kind of like talking through for both of you, because
Yeah.
I definitely feel like I was trying to give, and by the way, I was trying to give equal, like, hey, you should like, so I was giving like sort of like these little like tips to both of you, having played the system. And I think that created that's maybe one of the reasons why your game was so freaking close at the end there, with 1 victory point difference, 12 to 11, which
Mm-hmm.
was awesome, and I love to see that, because I don't like blowout games like I had. Um, my opponent, his dice weren't particularly great, so that added onto the frustration, but he didn't feel like he had a chance in the game. But just absolutely could not win. But recover the research I think is cool because you definitely know early on, like, you're going to posture for some position and you're going to basically say like, okay, here's where I kind of want my army, and you're going to pick a triangle and you're going to be like, all right, so here's where I'm going to set up my like focus. And you could do the right side of the board because those are all the closest 3 nodes, right? And you say I'm going to secure those, and then maybe I'm going to poke into that middle one of my opponent. But what you did was actually quite good, which is that you gave him a reason to deploy several units over to the top left of the board. And yes, you lost your units, but you scored. And you scored for a couple rounds. And then by the time you lost those units, he had lost his units in the top right, and then you still had the triangle on lock. And that, so very cool to see that like this one can actually have like that different like ebb and flow of play. And it almost came down to kill points. If Luke didn't
Yeah.
die, y'all would have been on 12-12 and going down to kill points, which is also really cool.
It's crazy that a strike team could take down Luke for those final 2.
They
final
did.
2 wounds.
They did exactly 2 wounds to Luke.
Yeah.
They charged with 2 aims, got 4 hits. Luke had 2 wounds left, rolled 2 blocks. Sad Luke.
And 2 blanks, yeah.
2 blanks. He died on the last attack of the game.
And he's a good player. I like Tyson. He's an English player, and he loves that AA5 and Rebels.
I'll be honest with you, the truck was pretty good for him. I think that he could have been a little, in hindsight, and I know we're kind of getting a little off subject, but it's still relevant to objective talk. The bus is big, and I think that there's a world where he could have gotten his bus to be contesting and giving him points on your node earlier in the game, and that would have been insane, right?
I think he mostly wanted it for line of sight blocking rather than scoring.
And I think that was actually the thing that he shouldn't have done, is that I think that he should have, again, in hindsight, if he had sent his bus over to the middle of your 3 on the, if you're looking at the card, there's like the bottom row, you have the 3. If he had sent his bus over to that middle area, he could have been grabbing an extra point the whole game. And you were outpacing him on VPs because he was scoring 3 and you were scoring 4 nodes, which was giving him 2 VPs and you 3 VPs. So if y'all were even 3-3, it would have 100% come down to 100% gone to kill points.
And
so,
we're both used to playing cagey, and that doesn't
do that
work
anymore.
with the new. Yeah, that doesn't work with these objectives, because as long as you at least have someone contesting it, it counts. And so you might as well be more aggressive and start moving your units. And that's why I'm happy also that the clone sharing is now range 2 away, but that still can be far.
It felt far. There were a couple times where you had to move and cohere, and it was still a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, so back to the objective talk, and I know that was a tangent, but it was objective related. We talked about, I guess, recover the research. We talked about close the pocket. But Graham, which board did you play on?
I haven't gotten yet to the play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
when you do get your game, my personal recommendation is do exactly what I did. It was incredibly educational for both me and my buddy. We did a couple rounds of like fake, like doing the pick ban thing, and this is for anybody listening. Do that. Give it a couple like tries. Like say, okay, this one's not going to count. We're gonna just, but we just want to see. So roll the dice, see who's blue. Pick ban. And do that a couple times, and maybe 3 is enough, right? And then on the 4th one, say, okay, this is for real now. And then I also suggest that people go build your tables after that, because if you're still going to be, if it's like an early game, don't walk up to a table and just go, oh, this sucks, because there's no way that you have your old table building skills and they're not going to translate to these new tables. So be okay with having a conversation with your opponent. Like, you can make the table, but when you finally put those nodes down, talk about it and be like, wow, this is real bad for me or you or whomever. And then like maybe shift some things around to give yourselves the best opportunity for a fair game, because you want your first game, it's going to be slow. All of my friends have said the same thing. We are like this will slow you down so much. Yeah, it's only 5 rounds. Yeah, you don't have to do deployment, but I don't know anybody who's gotten their game done in less than 3 hours, and that's even if they're like done on round 3 and 4. Like, nobody's going to round 5. Nobody, like, all the games are ending on round 4, 3 or 4. And either due to tabling or scoring 12 points, which I guess is worth talking about when we talked about secondaries. And I'll explain why hitting 12 points is so easy to do when we talk about secondaries. But once you set up your table, super, super important for you to have a fair experience. And also bring more terrain than you think you need, because I've noticed that the quantity of terrain on old boards is not enough to have cover in the new mode. Being 3 inches from cover to gain the benefit of it is hard to do now. So
Uh, So also speaking of like, so recover and shifting and close the pocket are even great for trooper units. Now for speeders or for vehicles, do you think like bunker assault and breakthrough? Like, cause I know that a lot of people choose
yeah,
either gun lines and or forced users with a lot of gun lines, and then a lot of people also bring, a lot of vehicles and bikes. So, do we have like a particular? This one's really good for these because of a particular reason, and then close the pocket. So because like whenever I'm building my clones 501st, I definitely have maybe like close the pocket because burst of speed and scout and all that stuff, you've already got an advantage. Shifting priorities and recover the research, kind of the same reason. Intercept, bunker, and breakthrough, I feel like are a little bit different in a way that I don't include with them. Can is like what advantages do you think that some of those have for bikes, or which ones are best for bikes and or vehicles?
Definitely breakthrough. If you can throw a bike in at the very end and stop your opponent from scoring the one victory point from having their safe one or their friendly objective token uh, being contested, so because they score a victory point if it's not contested. Um, that's pretty big. Um, Honestly, vehicles like the bus, snail, and was it the Gav are probably gonna like bunker assault because more than likely, looking at the distance between those objectives, they can just sit and be contesting both an enemy and a friendly bunker. So that and all three of them are lines.
maybe I'd
They
have to measure it out.
they should be able to, especially like if they're right in the middle. Because if it's in the
There's okay, so they are range 2 apart. The token is a 2-inch token.
yeah,
So, and it's a 3-inch contest. So that's
yeah,
4 inches.
yeah,
That's 8 inches. So yeah, they
yeah,
can. I guess they can, because that means there's a 4-inch gap.
yep.
Okay.
Um,
So, yeah,
well,
bus stocks go way up with bunker assault for me.
uh, but also with bunker assault because this is also something we're having to relearn. When we, at least in my head, from the old rules, um, when it was saying like treat these as core instead of special forces for battle cards, I'm thinking turn zero. That's not the case with bunker assault. So your Wookiees in your battle force and your experimental Magna Guards count as core for this, so they don't get the extra 2 wounds. So you still need your commander or operative.
Hmm.
Um,
I don't like that.
yeah, I know it feels bad.
I don't like that. Yeah.
But one thing I'm actually wondering with bunker, because I'm not 100% certain on this, on the turn that you destroy the bunker, do you score four victory points?
I have to
Because
reread it.
it's you score one if you secure it, and then you score three if it's destroyed that turn. So, do they stack? Because they both just say during the end phase.
We'd need a forum. We'd need a
Yeah.
forum post to see if that, because I could see
So But I would also ask a TO, and I would also ask, or I would definitely try to get a forum ruling on that for people who are trying to go to a tournament on it, because that could matter a lot.
Yep.
But I think the spirit of the card is that you're getting extra points for blowing it up, and so you probably shouldn't be double dipping. Because
I'm looking at the breakdown right now for parts of the end phase. Step 1, resolve any abilities or effects that happen at the start of the end phase. Step 2 is score victory points.
I think then that's a nail in the coffin. Yeah. So you do this at the start of the phase, which would remove the token, so it's not there to score.
Yeah.
But I would definitely still ask a TO, because boy, I could see that getting really contentious at a high table later in the rounds, and someone's like, well, we were playing this way all tournament, and then now you're going to change it on me? Like, if this is in your battle deck, talk to the TO and see how they want to run it. And respect, if there's no forum post, respect whatever they rule, but just, I would ask beforehand.
It's definitely like old intercept transmissions, where a lot of people never run into that situation where the game ended on turn 4 and now you're scoring 3 victory points.
Are you kidding me? I don't think I've ever scored intercept the transmission on turn 6. It's always 2, 4, or 2, 4, and 5, or 2 and 4.
Yep.
Man, people play so cagey on old intercept that it never got to round 6. I stopped including it in my list because I could never get to turn 6. It was so infuriating because people are so cagey. They're like, oh, hold on, is this the turn where I want to push to the middle? Oh, maybe I want to shoot one more time. Oh, I got suppressed. Oh, so now's not. It's like, oh my god. So anyway, that's not here nor there. But well, I guess it is a little here and there, because now every effect is like intercept. So it's like, what I would love to know, or what I would love to hear from people who maybe try these in tournaments, because it is new rules, and I know that's going to be awkward and stuff, but like, I'm wondering, like, what's the, getting to round 5 look like? Because I haven't talked to anybody who's got to round 5, except for your game, Paul, right? But like, I mean that, like, locally, nobody's got to round 5. Everybody finished, and they were just like, yeah, writing's on the wall, or the game was way over on round 3 and 4. So I'd like to hear from people who consistently get to round 5, or maybe it's just super rare. And I want to know how long those games are taking, because I think right now we don't have a faster game mode than what we used to have. I don't think so. I thought we would when they said no more deployment and no more round 6. I thought this meant we were going to get to more completed games. But the only games that are completing relatively quickly are the ones where my opponents, not my opponents specifically, were like the people that I've talked to, where they've been like, okay, it's round 3, I've got nothing left, I don't even want to keep playing. And then they, handshake, good game, and then they either play again or they, pack up and go. But like, most of the games that get to even like round 4 are like 3+ hours at that point. So I'm wondering, is this like a slower game mode, or is it just rules? Is it just people are still figuring it out and playing different, and maybe there's going to be some wild change there? But I'm curious to hear from other people, like, how their round 5s have been going, and about how long is it taking them to get to round 5. And because your game was very long. If you were timing that game, y'all would have not finished, not even close.
Yeah, because I think we started at around 6 or so my time and got done at like 10:20 or so. So about almost 4.5 hours just to try to get everything done. And that was with minimal breaks and just trying to learn that one objective and the secondary objective. But also, just to clarify, so additionally, players score 3 VPs for each enemy bunker that was destroyed during the end phase. They don't score the 3 points each round. They just score the 3 points when it was destroyed.
Yeah, it's just the turn that it gets destroyed.
Yeah, it says that end phase. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because my headphones went out and the audio did not pick up some of that, so I was trying to...
Fair enough.
All good.
And then, so we also have... I think that's really it. Intercept. We've already kind
Yeah,
of talked
I
about
mean,
intercept.
and we touched on them all. I think the takeaway for the people listening, and haven't clicked through the cards is there's different layouts and there's different positions. Largely, there's just the different ways it's a secure or contest. But hopefully, the takeaway is that it's all about area denial, like getting my guys where they need to be, preventing you from getting your guys where you want them to be, and that's the new game that we play. And all 6 cards do that. It's just that some of them do that a little bit differently, when it comes to secure versus contest. But otherwise, that's the goal now. And so I think now, is it time for me to rant about the secondaries?
We just have the one last one to talk about.
Oh, go for it.
Intercept the signals. I think this one's interesting, but I think it would be more different and more kind of like breakthrough. So like different units would favor it more if those 2 middle points were further to the edge. If they were just like 1 or 2 more range bands out towards the edge of the board, now you would see probably more things like tauntauns and speeders really wanting to pick that one. But they're almost in like this weird where they're not too far, but they're not too close. So it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I've kind of felt that way with looking at all of them and kind of talking with my opponents in those mulligan rounds of like, hey, like, are any of your units going to be especially potent on this deployment versus that deployment? And none of them felt very lopsided, which is a shame because it means that you're not really interested in banning primaries very often. And that will eventually, when we do get to secondaries, I will bring that back up.
That's just one other thing. That's also the only one that requires you to have an objective token to interact with tokens potentially to score. All the other ones, as far as primary goes, are just, hey, you exist, you're doing things.
Yep. Yeah, intercept is the one that I personally am least likely to want to put in my lists just because of the extra bits involved with like having the guy with the thing in the place with the thing, and it just feels like too much of a matrix of like decisions, and I'm more than happy to play it, but that's the one that I think that I would want to play the least. Maybe that or Breakthrough. The new Breakthrough I'm not a big fan of either, but.
And that's also something you have to watch out for now because those get placed on your unit card now, those tokens.
They do.
So you're going to have to pay extra attention, especially while we're all learning, to not get those mixed up with other units.
That's a good point.
And so it's like you're really trying to get the units with the intel token to be next to a comms tower and secure it, or does it?
So long as you contest it, and then so long as one of your units has the intel token is contesting, then you score a victory point, or if the comms tower gets secured by your regular units or units with the token. So either way you're scoring points, but you only can gain the point from contesting if your unit has the token.
Okay. Did y'all want to go ahead and move on then to the secondary objectives?
Let's do it.
All right. So the first one would be marked targets. So starting with the blue player, each player chooses 2 friendly units and 2 enemy units. And then a player may not choose a unit that has already been chosen. And then the chosen units each gain a marked token. So you will always have, 4 units on your side that have a marked target token. And so you're just trying not to have those die, but you're also trying to, I guess, go after the opponents. So it's kind of like having bounty on 4 of your units, I'm assuming, and then you've got a bounty on 4 of their units. And I mean, I guess just 4 max VP from that. So I guess that's lower than, well, I guess Well, okay, so if we're looking at sweep and clear, that one,
The
2, 3,
target
4,
for
5.
most of these is 4. I will say that is not actually what's going to happen. And there are a
Keyword
couple
most.
outliers. Most of them, the target is 4. Like if you you're going to score up to 4. Like it seems to be the way that they wanted to do some of them. So I guess while we're doing that, let's kind of skip around. So the other one where you're going to do this is going to be the one with the bomb, whatever, destroy enemy base. It's 4, right? But it's swingy because it's 4. like bam, like you get it all at one time. Cool. That's fine. Then there's the where did it go? Nope. Just no. Is it recon? Recon. Yeah. So that one you could score up to 4, right? At the end of each round, if you did the thing, you score a VP. And I know we're not reading them all out, like, because I think the nuance to reading all the little intricacies of these cards is going to be important when you're finally list building. But I think a more important thing to talk about these cards is that those 3 you score 4, right? Marked, you can score like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Bomb, you score 4 right out, right? This one you can score 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 for 4 rounds. Cool. You can score 4, up to 4. But then you have some of them. And surface scan, is that the other one that's 4? I think so. Yes. So there you go. But let's talk about the outliers. Okay. So sweep and clear is sort of in this weird one where it's real hard to kill something in enemy territory. Right. So you have to kill something. So there's just going to be game modes. Like if you got close the pocket, you're not scoring those 2 VPs. They're unattainable, whatever. You get the point. You can't do it. Then there's going to be some of them where it's like breakthrough, which like yeah, that's pretty obvious. You're going to get 5. So this one's kind of like one of those, but it's still, I guess, approaching that target of 4. So it's fair. And then there's the one that I hate, which is bring them to heal. Because one person is going to be feasting on this card. One person is going to probably score 4 from just each round because I'm suppressing more stuff than you. And they may also be scoring a bonus 2 twice. So this card for certain lists, this card for certain armies is going to potentially give you 8 points. That's not good. That is not good. That needs to not be how this works. I could maybe see an argument where at the bottom section it's like you can only do one of them, and maybe then we can say it's okay if this card did 6. But the real problem is that the rest of those cards can be tit for tat. I scored 1 and my opponent scored 1. I scored 1 and my opponent scored 1. This one is one of us is scoring 1. And also the bottom section is likely to be the person who scored the top section is also scoring the bottom section stuff too. This card is swingy. This card will win games by itself, especially if you build into it. And this card is going to be one of those things. And so when we were talking about, when I alluded to earlier, where you may need to save your bans for secondaries, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This particular card. If you see your opponents playing a list that's got a lot of suppressive weapons, a lot of activations, like super high activations, they're just going to lay out a bunch of suppression. They may actually they may want to ban into this and try to dig for this. They have a 1 in 3 of just flipping it, right? And then they're going to try to ban into this as quickly as they can. And if they get this, and then don't even forget about the fact that they're probably also running Strafing Run, which is even more ways to get suppression and stuff, right? This one in particular is not tuned correctly for the rest of them, where most of them are there. We can both be scoring. We're both kind of doing it on the same turns. It's not a me or you. We're both kind of like trickling up and doing our little secondary. This one is definitely one person is the aggressor and is going to get all the points, and the other person is just going to be Just even if you're losing on primary, this card can just win you the game. If you get all 8 points here, you only need to get 4 points in primary. That's crazy. Like you could potentially off of this card like just close out games on round 3 by scoring the 2 and the 2, that gives you 4, and then the 2 rounds on round 2 and 3, that gives you 6 points. So on round 2, if you score 3, on round 3 you score 3, that's 6. 6 and 6 is 12. Game over. We've only played 3 rounds. One of those is just deployment for the most part, and I've blown you out with 12 points. Crazy. So that's my. I'll get off the soapbox now. Bring them to heel. Bad design, needs rework, needs to be looked at, or just ban it, or just everyone who just walk up to the table, and if you see that, like, you ban it. Don't put it in your deck, and then just ban that one. So
maybe it'd be okay if suppressive wasn't a keyword, but it's a fairly common one.
And
You could
split
also
firing is super good.
Yeah, I was about
right?
to say
Split firing. Oh my god.
Or barrage with the AAT and the one pilot.
Yoda, double attack suppressive, plus Jedi Mind Trick. I'm handing out 6 suppression every round. Take that.
I mean, you saw that stupid Wookiee list where everyone had the suppressive gun.
Dude, no, and it's good. It's genuinely good. It's like it's not like a meme. It's like, I mean, it is a meme, but it's not a meme. Like, it's good. Yeah, especially considering that this card, even built into it, has the contingencies, which it's insane. It's literally built in where it's like all the units that could be suppressed have been suppressed. So they didn't even like forget to say like, oh, well, if someone has a vehicle, then you can never score this. They actually made it easier. So if I'm building my list around this card to win every game, and like, okay, and you brought it up off camera before, Krennic, screw Krennic.
Yeah.
Screw Krennic. And screw people who bring Krennic in this card.
ouch.
I mean, you can score potentially the. You could almost score the entire force is panicked or whatever it is on turn 1 just by playing his 3/5. And then you have people still stuck off the board potentially if you missed a play.
Well, it says once per round per player, when a unit gains a suppression token, the opposing player may mark one of their unmarked spaces on it if the conditions are true. So you could literally just go, bang, the conditions are met, get my card. Like, you don't even give them a chance to rally or you just do it. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's weird that I guess this one and Sweep and Clear are also not scored the same way as every other scoring thing. Or I guess Bounty would be the exception, like actual Bounty. But all the other ones still require the end phase to score the points.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like those, like they're not all built the same. So like these secondaries. And right now, I'm telling people, like, wake up, pay attention. Secondaries are actually way more important to your overall game plan than primaries. And when you're banning, you need to be banning to get your secondaries. And this is why I think red player is absolutely full stop superior, because it means that you just save your second ban for the secondary and you always play your cards. You could be blue player too. You could just go, okay, I'll take blue token. Oh, you're gonna take it back? Well, that sucks for you. That's a waste. All right, I'll ban your secondary. Cool. We're now playing my secondaries. I have the huge advantage. Right? Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like it's because by stealing blue token, you can, and again, what primary are most lists banning? Like, very few. Like, there's gonna be times where you're ban one, and you'll probably just get banned. They'll just ban it right back, right? So it's like, okay, and if I'm blue player, 1000%, if I'm blue player, I'm picking my secondary deck every time. It's because you pick your, and then they do the other one. No question, it's my secondary deck we're playing off of. If you're blue, just put that out there for players. It's a huge pro tip. That's my take. There are going to be primaries that are better for you, but you have bans to get to those. Start the game off on the right foot to make your opponent, like, And obviously, I wish that when the roll-off happened, I wish I could pick to be red or blue. I don't believe that that's the case. I think the person who wins is blue.
Yeah.
I don't like that because I would love to be red. I just want the last ban. I never want to be playing sweep and clear, ever. Well, that's not true. I don't want to be playing sweep and clear against a list that is trying to cheese sweep and clear. I'll just correct myself there. It's not sweep and clear's fault. It's that there are things in the game that can make that card overly perform compared to the rest and score up to 8 victory points in a game. And that's just not okay, considering the rest of them are all kind of finely tuned to get you, but anywhere from 2 to 4 in that window. So
it would be interesting as kind of a way to potentially combat how powerful red player appears to be. If, say, it's the last ban of the 4 and red player decides, I want to be blue player because they see some major difference in the table, it would be interesting to see the original blue player get an extra ban.
that can't take the token back, you mean?
Yeah, excluding being able to, they can't take the token back, but now they get some response.
Yeah, I'll hot take. I've been positive about a lot of these things, but I'll hot take. I don't like the new ban system. It's strictly worse than the old system. I don't like that it's blind, and it's not much to do with the cards. I just want to preface that. I don't like that it's blind. Not a fan of that. I don't like that it's not controllable. Like it's just we roll. They took that from Shatterpoint. It's literally the same system as Shatterpoint. You pick up 5 dice and you see who has the most crits, then hits, then whatever. So they just took their other game mode thing and they just made it like, or whatever. And you could argue that, well, it's also copying Warhammer. Yeah, sure. I mean, Warhammer, you do a roll off and the person.
They did the same thing to X-Wing in 2.5 also.
Yeah, I think personally that there should be ways like I'm not so confident that I liked the bid system previously being like what it was. There were problems with that, even though I was one of the abusers as a Yoda player to having a big bid and then having things that my opponent probably just can never beat me on, like recover supplies with Yoda and grabbing the box turn 1 and all that kind of stuff. Rest in peace, my Yoda masterclass video there.
Yeah.
But seriously, like I wasn't. There were problems, and I'm sympathetic to the you got to try stuff and iterate, and sometimes you have to make something potentially worse to eventually arrive at something better. I'm sympathetic to people who design games, and I know you can't make everyone happy, and change is always tough, and all of those things. But what I don't think anybody was asking for was more randomness in these cards. I don't think I had ever heard anybody advocate for the system that we had to become more random. Like uncontrolled, like no one knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah, what was it during Mini Stravaganza? They're like, I think the quote was roughly something like, "We all came to these games to roll dice." Like, no, I came for a Star Wars strategy game. Sorry, I just happened to roll dice.
That's not great. I hope that they didn't mean that the way that I think that they meant that, which is stop taking the game so seriously. Because, man, I play from the competitive side of things, or I've distanced myself somewhat from competitive. I'm not going to the big events because I'm kind of taking a breather from that. I did it a lot last year, and so this year I decided I was gonna just play local competitive stuff, and that's been a lot of fun. Especially considering that keeping it local, getting to play a lot more wacky stuff. I can bring things that are not as viable, but still see a lot more success, and that has been super fun and refreshing. But I want there to always be the space where if I want to flex that competitive side of it and I want to go back into a tournament style play, what I don't want is I don't want to walk up to a table and being like, wow, we shuffled up and I got dealt the worst possible thing. And I have no way to control it. Before, because of the way it banned, I could bid and I could try to control it in that way, or I could always be the red player and always know, like, we have the whole matrix of things out there. I know I get the last ban, so we're never going to play the primary that I absolutely can't play. Like, I have, whether I was red player or blue player, I felt like the old system at least felt fair for both players. I don't think I've ever talked to somebody and said, like, no, it's absolutely busted. There are worse flops. Yes, there are certain sets that you really don't love, but you always had something playable. And now, because of the randomness, there are going to be times where you just don't have a way to beat your opponent's strategy, and you could just ban into something equally bad or worse, and you didn't know you were going to do that. Because you're like, in my list, maybe I have the same card as them, but against their list, I don't want to play it. And this is my last ban, and I ban, and I flip, and it's the same card, and I'm like, I just banned into the same thing. Oh no! Like that's going to happen now. And again, with the old system, you knew what was banning. You knew I was going to go from this to this. Okay, cool. And then, I don't know. Like that's been my one biggest negative, which is that I don't. And like I said, I did a bunch of practice flops with these, and that's why I think while I haven't played, 12 games, I've heard some people play 12, 15 games already, and I'm like, wow, holy cow, you have, like, kudos to you if you can play that many games by already with this new system. That's crazy. But I have done about 8 or 9 like practice ban flop things. And even changing up our sets and stuff just to see what would be different, and I'm not impressed. I haven't loved it, and that's been my take on it. For that, and that's not to say that it's not fixable. I hope that the takeaway isn't that people say, "Oh, throw the baby out with the bathwater." No, there's a lot of really cool stuff here. They just need to tweak it. They could take this exact same system and they could potentially, I know this seems a little funny, but even just make it revealed. Maybe make it like, you shuffle the cards and then, I pick mine, but then the top card of my deck is revealed, right? That way, at least I know what I'm banning into, or my opponent knows what I could, you know what I mean? Like it should be, face up or something. Like, I just don't love the blind nature of it. And so there's solutions to all of these problems. And someone might say, oh, dude, I love the random. So, I'd love to hear from other people as they play more and see if I'm just in the minority there. But maybe it's just that competitive nature in me. I hate random. I don't like these uncontrollable aspects. I already don't know what table I'm walking up to. I don't know what list I'm going to play against. There's so many random elements, and it's a dice game. I hate the fact that the objectives are also completely blind and random. It's like that one little extra thing that used to not be the case. So anyway, what are you guys' take? Do you like random or not?
Yeah.
You like it?
No, not particularly.
Okay. I'm all ears. I would love to hear from someone who tells me I want to know the reasons why someone would like random.
I think one of my favorite matches that I had was right at the end of the old Legion. ACO was my first game there this year, and it was a bad matchup where it was Luke and double bus and then fleets and stuff, and then I had commandos and Rex, so very stationary, and I was able to get the flop to what didn't seem very good, but I saw a path, and it was essentially getting it to what is it called? Up close and personal and bombing run.
Mm-hmm.
And had we not had time called on us, actually would have won that game. And it doesn't seem like it should be something that I could win with a very stationary gun line and a very mobile objective. And yeah, like you're saying, like it's just the idea also just to have at least some kind of information to try and have a little bit more skill expression, even like casual, like just tabletop or kitchen tabletop games. You still want a little bit more control.
Yeah.
Like unless it's unless you're playing like literally the war card game where that is the thing. It's
Just flipping cards and
yeah.
someone's gonna win.
Yeah.
So
like
what?
cover or take or leave it. Like I get it. It's dice. I gotta sell more dice. But yeah, it's just a weird choice that 3 new things were added and all 3 of them are random. So, yeah.
So what if you? Because so maybe they're just trying to make it so that you don't think that you don't make your opponent think that you're trying to get the biggest advantage. I don't know. But what if it was you could see your cards that you wanted to lay down, but you couldn't see your opponent's cards that they wanted to lay down? Like, so you could see your primary, your secondary, and your advantage. And it wasn't random for you, but it was random for them. Would that make it any better? Or do you think that you should both be able to see? Because I mean, I want more information. The more information I have, the better decisions I can make. And I like that. But at the same time, if they're trying to make it a little bit more randomized, or at least maybe have your opponent not understand what you're trying to do, then what if at least you could look at everything and they couldn't? Would that make it any better for you?
I don't want private peaks. Like I said, I had thought about like what if it's shuffle it up. Fine. If you're gonna have to have a random element, you shuffle it and then you deal one, and then you like deal your next 2. So you just go like deal or something like that, right? But like they're face up, and I know that if I ban it, I know I'm banning into this, and so, like I want the old system back in part. Like I want to be able to know my next X, and if they ban mine, I want to see what they'd be banning it into, right? Similarly, like this with the same system, but I just want that face up knowledge. I'm okay with the shuffle because that's what the old system was. You shuffled the 4 and then you flopped them out. And I'm okay if it's and I'm okay with the idea that they were trying to get rid of like my deck, your bid, so your deck, so your blah blah blah. Like I get why they wanted to get rid of that, because there were there were definitely some stinkers in there, right? When you're going up against, we saw Blizzard Force for the ages, right? Everybody remember Blizzard Force from 2023? Anybody? Yeah, 2023, yeah. Where it's like your 19-point bid, like without even trying, and the list was like 4 things that are completely super one-sided, good for you, right? Like that's the worst case of the old system, obviously. But so the idea to mix it so that we both get to contribute, I like the spirit of where they were going with that. But because they made it purely random, they didn't actually fix anything.
It almost kind of feels like it went halfway.
Yes.
Like it feels like if it's a collective thing, you should all know.
Yes. Yeah. I had actually pitched the idea. I never got a chance to try it because I never found somebody who was wacky enough to try it. But what if I pitched the idea with some friends? I'll pitch it to you guys now. Imagine the old system with the rows, but there's no deck. You just shuffle the 8 old primary objectives, the 8, and then you deal the first 4, and that's the flop. No bid, no nothing, no my deck, it's just, this is the 8. So it's like sometimes it's cool stuff that like I like, and sometimes it's payload into into breakthrough, into bombing run, into whatever, and neither of us like any of them. But we're both on if we're gonna go, but again, the known path, and I agree with your statement of the skill expression of the player to say I see the path to victory, and maybe the game won't go my way, but like I made the best out of what I was able to, and my experience is shining through for you to be able to see, oh, I actually can win with this card on that layout.
If you pick the wrong band, it still gives you a chance to learn.
Yeah.
I love learning in this game, so like it feels weird that I lost a way to learn.
That's a good way to put it too. Yeah, we lost one of the, well, I guess to what you said, we lost one of the forms of skill expression. There's really no skill expression when we just say, yeah, I'm going to ban. There is obviously the smallest level, which is like, I know to not play, specifically bring them to heal against Krennic, right? Like okay, all right.
Yeah.
But that's such a like fool me once kind of scenario, right? Like I always used to joke with people and say like when I played my Yoda list with a bid, like nobody ever actually let me play Recover the Supplies if they've played me once on Recover the Supplies. Like that is a you've experienced it once, you see it happen, and then you go, wow, I never want that to happen again, right? And then you just ban it from now on, because if I have the bid, then the only way that that my list, basically my old lists with Yoda, the only way that I would not get what I wanted was if it was specifically the card in the 4th slot. Because as a blue player with 2 bans, you can never get to that card, right? So that's the only time where I would feel like, oh man, that's just unlucky, right? If Recover's on the 4th slot, I can't ban and make that a choice. And I would always, if it was in the 1st slot, my opponent would have to waste their ban on it, and I knew that they'd have to ban it. And that was another, what you were saying about the that smart player skill expression kind of thing. Turn 0 used to be huge. In fact, I would actually go as far as say that I probably won some non-insignificant number of my games just because I had more reps into different lists with different layouts, and I knew which objectives were the ones that my army was going to be able to tackle very well, and maybe they didn't. And so they let me get an objective that they shouldn't have. Like the number of times where my opponent played me with breakthrough, seeing that I was an 8 activation list and going like, oh my God, I'm going to cream this guy. I got 10 activations. He's got 8 activations, and we're playing breakthrough. This is an easy W. And then needless to say, they realized very quickly that I beat them on breakthrough 1-0 every time. Every time. I never, unless they're split. Yeah, obviously if they're playing like triple bikes or whatever, like that there's worlds where, but I'd be red player and I would ban it. So but I'm saying that there were games where they would think that they get me in a gotcha on the old system, and they find out very quickly that the frog will absolutely be the thing that's in their deployment zone, and nothing else in their army is in the deployment zone, because my clone troopers have combat training and they will fight you, and they will be in melee the whole game with you. And they just stop you from scoring. That's my goal, is that I stop you from scoring. That's my game plan, and I will win with 1 or 2 guys in the deployment zone, and that's it.
Well,
I'm also not realizing this little side note, speaking of the frog, and now Veers, I guess someone had a bad experience with Yoda guidancing someone to claim something, because all these are now free claim actions, so he can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not lost on me. I noticed. I was like, I feel attacked. There is sabotage evaporators. The number of cheeky games that I've won because I saved my last activation as Yoda, and I just say, hey, go tap that evaporator one more time, and my opponent's like, what? Like, I almost tabled you. I'm like, yeah, you did almost table me. That's real cool. I win by 1 VP. It was a great game. Again, skill expression though, and with this new system, I'm having a hard time finding that skill expression. I'm right now, like for me.
And hopefully, like if it's not that they make some minor adjustments to like bring them to heal or buff the other ones in some way. Hopefully this will just improve with more variety in cards that we'll eventually get. I mean, there was just a little interview snippet that I'm sure some people saw today that came out of Gen Con with Grey Squadron Gaming. They were talking about Schick, and in a couple years, we can hopefully expect to see faction-specific advantage cards, which sounds awesome. I mean, we already pretty much have a Rebel one with cunning deployment, but but yeah, it's so yeah, and hopefully there'll be more than 4.
There's going to need to be a lot more types of ways to win, though. If we just get 4 more different patterns, but it's still just secure, contest.
Hopefully we'll get payload back or something, because payload was one of like the most unique ones, and especially if they really like this battle line design.
We could literally get all of them back. Like, there's nothing stopping. Like, that was the impressive part for me. It was like, they could have literally kept all 8 of the old ones, like, literally kept them as is. Maybe tweak them just slightly to the new system, just the smallest tweaks where needed, but literally left them exactly as they were in the game, and then just change the scoring to work better with a 12-point system, period. KP could have been every round, right? Score us every round, 2 through 5 or whatever, to the new system. But like all kinds of stuff. Hell, what would have been sick? What if old key positions you chose every round, right? Center thing, and then I get a token, and every round I get to place it on a different piece of terrain, and so it's always bouncing around the board, and my opponent's is always bouncing around the board. And the key positions are moving. Anyway, sorry, that's getting a little wily, but I want way more objectives.
I think we'll get some more objectives hopefully soon. And we'll probably round up with this one for a year, and then maybe after another year they'll come out with another one, just to kind of keep things new, and probably hear what everyone's objections are, and kind of see, well, maybe we can kind of come up with another hostage, or come up with another payload, or come up with another somehow recover, not shifting priorities, but something similar to that. But
hostage is a great secondary now with the new system. Yeah. To be fair, if you really think about it, hostage is actually one of the best possible secondaries out there, because it fits exactly into the idea of what you want out of a secondary. It can just be a very just like the bunker. It's like if you're still holding your guy, or whatever, at the end of each battle round, while you're securing a hostage or whatever, you score 1 point. So that at the end, if they kill my hostage, whatever, okay, maybe I lose 1 VP. I'm still trying to do my primary. Anyway, I'm hoping that, and I really do hope that people give the feedback of hey, these are the things that were working, and really push AMG to these are the things that are working, but then also really encourage them to not hold back. I mean, right now we're still working out of a PDF, so they can just add more. And then when they go to print the cards, then it can be the final cut of these are the ones that we liked. To be experimental for a while. Triple the amount of objectives and say, hey, some of these are wild and we're going to cut them before it goes official. But I don't know.
Yeah. So, well, go ahead real quick.
I was just going to say, these ones are already in print, by the way. They're already at the printers.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, with the faction card packs, they're supposed to come out in Q3 next year. They're going to come out at the same time, roughly.
Maybe they could just be throwing some of them out there and have a few more ready to go. I mean, I feel like that wouldn't be a bad idea either.
But I mean, also, there's no reason, we already have cards that are altered in a PDF format, so there's no reason why we can't still operate in the same way where we have physical cards that are optional. You can still do print and play even after the physical release. And
people are literally going to be playing in the next Worlds with print and play.
Yeah.
So if that doesn't set the precedent that print and play is A-OK, sorry for the rhyme. If that doesn't set the precedent, then I don't know what else will, right? The next worlds will be using print and play. So therefore, the stance has been made that it is an acceptable format. So let's not crutch behind, well, it takes a year to go through printing and then they got to get the physical. I'm like, yes, great. And in 2026, they'll print physical versions of the next wave of the card. But let's use this next year of 2025 to play test a bunch of theoretical cards. And that way, everything that comes out into physical print will be the set keepers. And then they can use the PDF and delete all the ones that didn't work out and that were experiments and people said that they hated them. And let's get a good cycle going, because I want to say that by the time these physical print comes out, if we don't have another wave more, I'm not sure how many people are going to want to wait till 2026 to finally get something other than intercept the transmissions, which is what we have right now. 6 flavors of intercept.
Well, yeah, I think to wrap things up, because I know that we're kind of getting a little, not off topic, but just kind of going about old objectives and stuff. I think that all of these objectives are moving objectives, and it's all about contesting and securing. Maybe we will get some stationary objectives at some point with good secondary. And I feel like that's mostly it for today. I feel like, with the secondary objectives, especially the suppressive and the bring them to heal, as well as the clean and sweep, you've got, I feel like Blizzard Force is going to be really good at that. You've got Krennic that's going to be really good at giving out suppression and stuff. And there will be battle forces that are great. And maybe we can, when we go over the battle forces videos, we can talk about the objectives, secondary objectives, and stuff like that. That'll be probably the most beneficial for each one. But just to kind of tie it up and finish out, I think there was one real big takeaway that I don't think we mentioned in the video, but we did mention here in the game. For my final thoughts is pre-measure your units for the next move activation. So like you just finished your 2 actions, go ahead and measure to the objective so that you have 1 move until you get there, so then you can take a shot, or you're going to have to spend 2 actions to move. And you're going to have to be a step ahead if you really kind of want to be winning. You can't just be stationary and then expect to try to make it to the objective. So I don't think we mentioned that, but that was something during the game that you had brought up.
That's huge.
Yeah, and I think just from my final thoughts, that is the biggest takeaway to do for the objectives. Besides splitting fire for sweep and for not sweep and clear, but for bring them to heal if you don't have a lot of suppressive weapons. So yeah, I think just to wrap up the current objectives and things, are there any final thoughts about maybe what to be thinking about, what to be doing while you're playing?
That was a big one, and I'm glad that you remembered it, because we did say it's an area control game now, right? It's about controlling space. So your tip is incredibly relevant. Measure every single guy and how many moves to get to the next place, because it might mean, oh, I did really well and I killed some units there, so now I can secure it, and I didn't think I was going to secure it, but I rolled well, or he rolled bad. So knowing the number of moves is going to be the biggest way to win on your primary. Everything should be measured. Do not get caught off guard and go, oh, dang, I would have won that game if I had just moved 1 more inch up. Because people used to only measure to cover, like, oh, how far till I get to this piece of cover. I think the bigger thing is going to be, the biggest skill expression is going to be the people who measure how many moves to get to the next objective. And so that's a fantastic point. I think your tip right there is going to allow more people to win games than anything else that we talked about today, which is just measure.
Which was your tip to begin with.
Yeah, no, but you remembered it, so.
In the meantime, if you don't have a 3D printer, get a small little box of D6s to weigh down your print and play objective typings. Do something, please.
I saw someone post on Facebook. This isn't my idea, but I saw someone post on Facebook. For 33 cents, you can get 2-inch washers from Home Depot.
That's perfect. That's awesome.
They're heavy, and they're exactly 2 inches because they're machine cut. And so no 3D printer necessary, 33 cents. You can buy 5 of them for basically $2. That's awesome. So I saw that idea. I haven't been to Home Depot yet, but I actually plan on going to Home Depot to buy those 2-inch washers. They sell them at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever's near you.
I'll probably just go get those regardless and glue them underneath the 3D prints just to make sure that the prints stay down.
The weightiness of it I thought was the coolest part of it. So yeah, you're right. Even if I 3D printed a little plastic thing, I think actually I want to have that nice little that sturdiness from the metal. Yeah.
Otherwise,
The best thing to come out of the video, right there. Took us 2 hours. Buy washers.
Yeah, an hour and 52 minutes to get there.
only other thing I want to say is I know there's been a lot of criticism on this video, but we are not saying this to be because we're upset. It's because we see things, we test things. This is something that they've also talked about. They want people to be testing and trying to figure this out and work through it, because the moment it leaves playtesting and comes to us within a week, some people, like Kyler was saying, some people played 15 games somehow. We've probably already played more than all of the playtesting. So we're gonna find things, we're gonna break things, and that's what we should be doing at the moment, especially before Worlds, so we can get these things nailed down, hopefully, to some degree.
Yeah, and if there's any encouragement that I can give anybody, which is that I'm still playing the game. I'm still playing every week the game. Any criticisms that I've had is not me going and I'm not going to play until they fix it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm going to keep playing it and enjoying what it is. But I need to make sure people understand that there are some criticisms that are valid. And which is why I always say, and don't tell, if you're into I don't tweet or whatever, but whenever I do talk to people that maybe have the ability to kind of spread those information and those opinions, do it in a positive way. Say this would be great if ... Don't say your stuff sucks, because there's
compliment sandwich.
Yeah, you could say, hey, I've been enjoying some parts of your game. This part needs a little bit of work. If it got fixed, I think I would play more. That's a perfect delivery method. So, and that's what I'm hoping that everybody can do, is because it doesn't need to just be negative. Find the positive. And here's the best part. As a person who designs some stuff for homebrew D&D and other things, I rarely, as the game designer or game master, have all the answers. In fact, most of the time, I feel like my players have 10 times better ideas. And so I'm sure they're aware of that and that they're listening to feedback right now. I have to believe that, so maybe call me an optimist, but I have to believe that right now, especially, they're listening to a lot of feedback. So give it in a positive way so that they actually will read your comment. If you don't put it in a positive way, you'll just get blocked.
Well, all right, guys. Thanks a lot for the input. I know that this was a really good objective video because, I feel like I'm going to label it the good, the bad, and the ugly because it was good. There are some things, and, we have to fix it. But I think the last 10 minutes here has kind of shown that it can be played. Things can be done. It is PDF. They can make a few changes. It's not completely finished yet, and I know that they're printing now to try to get it out in a year, but they can still do what they need to. But yeah, guys, thanks for joining, and thanks for talking. This was a great video, and I'm gonna wind up getting prepared for the hurricane coming. I know, just need to get some extra water, and that's about it. Already filled up with gas and all that good stuff. But
I'm going to work tomorrow, so nothing's changing.
I've just canceled my clients just because it'd be nicer to stay home. Not because I'm afraid of the hurricane, but it's a rainy day. It's nice to get some Star Wars in.
That's right. Nice.
All right, everybody, y'all take it easy and have a good day. Any final words? Or no, well, deuces. I never know how to close this out. Maybe that'll be what I say each time. All right. Peace.
Chaos.
Peace.